Hey, welcome to another Vanguard commentary, and oh boy, I have something good to showcase you guys. It's going to be the Genesis Himiko with the new support from BPT12. Let's see how well it performs against Gavrail as well as Luard in the later game. So the Genesis do go first in this game, riding into the Great Tree Searcher, looking at the top 5. But he does unfortunately miss the search. And passes the turn to the Angel Feather, riding to the Scaling Angel here, which on Vanguard skill you can actually discard one card and then draw additional one more card. He chose to discard the Quick Shield at the last moment here. And he does call the Great Researcher here, which is newly introduced in this set for these clans. And does hit the Gavrail there. Very on point. Dropping the Regal there and then swinging Vanguard like this to a blank, but the Genesis do into a draw trigger. Very strong player. He does right into the Prometheus here, which allows him to look at top 2 and put one card into the soul. And he does call the Ulixis there. He does stretch it into another draw trigger, but because he does look at the top 2, so the trigger does almost guarantee to come. Pushes the 2 damage, but then Ulysses does use a skill here to actually draw 1 and soul charge 1. And now it's the Angel Feather turn to fight back. Will he be able to do a very scary turn 2? He does right into the Jackal here first, taking back one card and doing a rescue check after. And the Vanguard does plus 3k after this. And the Great Researcher does plus 5k if you eat 1 damage this turn. He does call the Cellarfell here, healing 1 to do 1 more rescue check. And because you do eat a damage this turn, it is the 19k attacker now. Now he does call another Great Researcher from hand, hitting to another Gavrail. Dropping the Gavrail as a cost. And he does call the Regal here, going for a very aggressive turn 2. Superior calling the Scaling Angel from the drop zone. Now everything will be hitting above damage trigger. And he does swing the Vanguard like this for total power of 25k. No trigger against, unfortunately, but the Genesis do eat a damage trigger, allowing him to guard lesser this turn. And the 15k shield will be dropped here, and it will be the Genesis turn. And we shall see how it goes. He does try into the Himiko here, and goes for the Force 2. Himiko is a very old card released in Standard, and we shall see how well it does with the new support. He does call the new CEO, Counter Blasting 1, to search for the Great 2, also known as called the Non. And when you do call the Non, you actually can take 2 souls to actually do a Divine Gauge, which is basically like a quick gauge for the Tachikaze, but in Genesis terms. And he does use the non-skill here to actually draw 1 card and put 1 card from the soul to the gauge, and then you are able to soul charge 2 after that. So as you can see, they do have a new soul charge engine now, which is fairly consistent. And he does call the Comlix here, which is just soul charge 1, and if you're on Great Tree Vanguard, you do soul charge 1 more card. And next he does call the promo, which is called the Arctic. You look at the top 2 and you soul charge 1 from there. And next he does call another Non, using the skill once again, drawing 1 card, putting 1 from the soul to the gauge, and then soul charging 2. And now does use the Himiko skill here, soul blasting 5, and choosing to use the critical trigger here to pump all to the CEO. He actually swings at the side with the Himiko, and gets a critical trigger to pump at the CEO, and the CEO is going to hit pretty hard. So do note that Dawn does actually able to stand the CEO because it's boosting it, and the CEO does allow Great Tools to boost as long as they have the gauge. So it's essentially a very big hitter, and hitting 2 times when I'm only on Grade 2. This reminds me of the Cross in a way. And we do move on to the Luard Game here, and the Genesis does go first in this game. Riding to the Great Researcher once again, searching the top 5. but misses the search once again. Will the Luard be able to handle these Genesis better? He does try into the knees here, allowing him to search a top 7 for Drag Heart Luard or a Liao 4. And we do see him hitting the Drag 4 here. Drag Heart, sorry. And this will be just seeing the knees like this. No draw trigger this time for you, Genesis. And he does right to the Ulysses here, calling to another Ulysses. But the Ulysses only does have a rearguard skill. A quick shield will be dropped here, but he does able to go into the soul to draw one and soul charge one more card. Riding to the left for the very classic Luard turn. And most likely going for the Charon to countercharge the counter blast use, basically refunding the cost, and soul blasting the great one, which is the knees. Will we be able to witness another layer 4? He actually just does call the Mofasa and swing directly for a 5k guard. Hitting no damage trigger here, but the Liao 4 does hit over it, but there's no critical trigger from the Luard side, and the turn does pass to the Genesis player. And we do see him riding to the Himiko once again, going to the Force 2, putting to the side. Calling the CEO once again to counter blast 1 to actually search for the Grade 2. And these two cards do work very well together, I must say. He does put 2 cards from the soul as equip gauge for the Genesis. And this gauge allows the Grade 2 to actually be a booster. So we do see actually calling the Prometheus here, looking at the top 2. And he does have an additional rearguard skill whereby upon attacking he can actually give 5k to the unit himself and to the Vanguard. So he does use Dawn skill to draw additional card and soul charging 2, sorry. And we see him calling the comics once again to soul charge 1 and additional 1 more card if he's on a Grade 3 Vanguard. And does go for the Himiko skill here. Once again, pumping all to the CEO. And do note that Himiko skill does only activate according to the enemy's Vanguard count. So basically, if I'm on a Grade 2, he's only able to activate 2 times. But it's already hitting for 4 crit rearguard. That is very scary. So Himiko does swing at the Vanguard for 31k. And now basically I'm at Lethal Zone already because of the CEO and the Himiko synergy. So initially I did not really think about the restand. And then he does remind me that the skill does proc now. Basically discarding 1 and 1 of the gauge and actually able to restand the Grade 3 plus additional 10k on him. Sorry, her. And then swinging again, requiring a 25k worth of shield. But I was quite excited to guard it. As you can see, I do overguard, but the opponent does remind me that, you know, it's only 25k worth of shield. So I'm deciding what to take back to hand, and I do decide on the Nightmare Painter in the end. But because of this huge blow of shields, my hand does not have any more Grade 1 to actually hardcore for the Mofasa turn, and I'm not able to actually push him this turn. But I do right to the Drag Heart Luard here, gaining a force marker, putting to the side. Straight away using the Drag Heart skill, putting top 2 Grade 1's unit from the drop zone to the deck to superior right to the Drag Driver, gaining 1 more force marker. And now I can counter blast 1 to actually search for 2 great ones to Superior Call. Calling the Abyssal Hour, as well as the Apocalypse Bat. And the Apocalypse Bat will use the skill here, so blasting the Liang 4 to draw 1 card. Swing at the Vanguard like this. No crit or double crit to end the game there, unfortunately. And he does swing with the bat, which is 32k column. But the Genesis does eat it confidently and passes the turn to the Genesis. We do actually see him calling this crowd. So basically he soul charges 1 for every unit on the field. Only his side though, but it's still 6 soul. And he does feel the Himiko soul immediately, allowing him to actually potentially use the skill once again. Does use the non-skill here to draw 1. Taking one card from the soul to put to the gauge, and then soul charging 2. And we still don't see any critical in the soul, so very fortunate for the Luard player. But you can see the Genesis is still digging into the deck, calling yet another non to use her skill. To soul charge 2 more cards, still no critical yet. He does call the Arctic here. And he finally hits the critical trigger, and this is pretty scary. So he does use Himiko's skill here, Soul Blasting 5 and Soul Blast the crit away. Now pumping 3's time because I'm at the Grade 3 Vanguard now. And now CEO has a 3 crit buff on her as well as a Force 2 buff. So the CEO is actually hitting 5 crit on her own. So he does swing the side to prevent any chance for me eating a damage trigger to lighten the load. But he does open double trigger here, most likely ensuring the end of the game. And he's hitting for 73k power. So it'll be a 65k shield and another 65k shield after resending. So the Lord does eat the damage and this should be it. And it's game over. Thank you for watching till the end and do consider subscribing if you do enjoy the content. Thank you so much.